Hari Om, Hari Ram. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namah. Welcoming all Satsangis to the Wednesday evening Satsang of Swami Dharamdas Darbar, Delhi, Lajpat Nagar. बोलिए सद्गुरुओं की जय, स्वामी धर्मदास साहब की जय, स्वामी अटल राम साहब की जय एवं स्वामी पेसुराम साहब की जय. Of course, as we all know, भाद्रपद के शुक्ल पक्ष की चतुर्थी तिथि यानी कि गणेश या गणपति या विनायक चतुर्थी, the most popular of the traditions of the Hindu Sanatan Dharma. गणेश भगवान का प्रादुर्भाव का दिवस, शिव पार्वती के पुत्र, वैदिक पंचदेव में प्रथम पूजनीय, मूषक जिनका वाहन है, रिद्धि सिद्धि जिनकी पत्नियां हैं, उनके पूजन अर्चन और स्तवन से इन 10 दिनों में, दैट इज फ्रॉम द 10th to the 20th, जब अनंत चतुर्दशी को कंक्लूड होगा, से गणेश भगवान बहुत प्रसन्न हो जाते हैं उपासक से और सभी प्रकार की सिद्धियां वो देते हैं. Incidentally, just a day before was Hartalika Teej, celebrating the great penance of Parvati Bhagwati to win Lord Shiva as her husband, and popular in large parts of northern India, especially Bihar, Jharkhand and also Nepal on the 9th of September, which incidentally, of course, are the parents of our Ganesh Bhagwan. One of the most well-known and worshipped deity in the Hindu pantheon is Ganesh Bhagwan. Popular in India, Nepal, Sri Lanka and countries of Southeast Asia as Thailand, Indonesia, Java, Bali, Malaysia, Philippines, Bangladesh, and in countries with large ethnic Indian population like Fiji, Guyana, Mauritius, Trinidad, Tobago, etc. Ganesh Bhagwan is said to bring good luck. He is the remover of obstacles, Vignaharta, patron of arts and sciences, the Deva of intellect and wisdom. As the god of beginnings, he is honored at the start of rites and ceremonies and is invoked as a patron of letters and learning during writing sessions. अब इन्हें मैनेजमेंट गुरु का भी दर्जा दे दिया गया है. The Ganpati Atharvashish, a minor Upanishad in Sanskrit, is recited in all the 10 days, various times during Ganeshotsava, and is dedicated to Ganesh as the eternal underlying truth or reality, Brahman or Satchidanand, the Atman, the Self, which is one and the same in all. Starts with the popular Shanti mantra of the Atharva Upanishad, that is why it is called the Atharva Ved, the Ganpati Atharvashish. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shranayama Deva Bhadram Pashyema Akshabhir Yajatraha Sthirairangai Tushtavam Sanstanobhi Vyashema Deva Hitam Yadayu Swasti no Indra Vriddhashravaha Swasti no Pucha Vishwaveda Swasti no Stakshya Varishtanemi Swasti no Brihaspati Dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. In a sense it means Devas, may we hear with our ears what is auspicious. May our eyes see only the auspicious. With steady and healthy sense organs and body, may we live the rest of our lives, the lifespan allotted to us by the Devas. Again, it goes on to say, may Indra, Pushan, Taksh, Brihaspati, etc. bestow well-being on us all. A beautiful Shanti mantra. गांधी जी के 3 पॉपुलर बंदर, जिसमें कहा गया है कि तीनों की आंखें बंद है और वो कहते हैं इट इज सिंबॉलिक ऑफ बुरा मत सुनो, बुरा मत बोलो और बुरा मत देखो, comes from here. It goes on to later say, Om Namaste Ganpate Tvamevam Pratyaksham Tattvamasi Tvamevam Pratyaksham Brahmasi Sarvam Jagadidam Tvato Jayate Sarvam Jagadidam Tvato Tishtati Sarvam Jagadidam Tvai Layameshwati Sarvam Jagadidam Tvai Pratyeti. Homage to Lord Ganesh. Om. Reverence to Ganpati. You are indeed the visible that thou art, Tattvamasi. You indeed produce the universe. You indeed sustain it. You indeed destroy it. You indeed are the all-pervading reality. You are the manifestation of the eternal self in the creation. You alone are all this. You are Brahman, you are eternal Atman in bodily form. It goes on as Tvam Brahma, Tvam Vishnu, Tvam Rudras, Tvam Igras, Tvam Ayu, Tvam Suryas, Tvam Chandramasas, Tvam, etc., etc. You are the earth, the space in heaven, and you are Om. May we know that single tusked one, Ekdantai Vidmahe. May we meditate on the one with the curved trunk, Vakratund Dhimahi. May the tusked one inspire knowledge and meditation of ours. Tanno Danti Prachodaya. It's worth recalling that Acharya Dharmendra Sharma, the learned young Sanskrit Pandit, who died tragically young, had this performed as a huge anushthan regularly in the Ganpati Utsav at the Kidwai Nagar grounds in Delhi every year. Swami Chinmayanand, founder of the Chinmaya mission, explains the symbolism behind the Ganpati iconography beautifully, and we will take 5 minutes to take a look at that. He says Ganpati, the elephant-headed god, represents the highest and the best that we have ever been given in our scriptures. To a Vedantic student, since his path of knowledge is intellectual, he must have a great head. To conceive and understand the logic of the Vedantic thought, and in fact, the truth of Vedanta can be comprehended only through listening to a teacher, and therefore Shravan, listening, is the initial stage. Therefore, Ganpati has large ears, representing continuous and intelligent listening to the teacher. His intellect must have the depth and width in order to embrace in his vision the entire world of plurality. Not only must he, in his visualization, embrace the whole cosmos, but he must have the subtle discriminative power called Vivek in him to distinguish the changing, the perishable, the material from the eternal, immutable, all-pervading consciousness, the spirit. This discrimination is possible only when the intellect of the student has consciously cultivated that power to a large degree of perfection. The trunk, coming down from the forehead of the elephant face, has got a peculiar efficiency that beats all achievements of man and his ingenuity in the mechanical and scientific world. Here is a tool that at once can uproot a tree or pick up from the ground, pull heavy weights or pluck a blade of grass. The mechanical instruments cannot have this range of adaptability. Like the elephant's trunk, so should the perfect discriminative faculty of an evolved intellect be, so that it can use its discrimination fully in the outer world for resolving gross problems, and at the same time efficiency to employ its discrimination in the subtle realm of inner personality layers. The discriminative function in us can function only when there are two factors to discriminate between, and these two factors represent the tusks of the elephant and the trunk growing down between them. Between good and evil, right and wrong, and all the dualities, we must discriminate and come to our own judgments and conclusions in life. The broken tusk indicates a real Vedantic student of subjective experience who has gone beyond the pairs of opposites, Dvandva teeth. Ganpati has the widest mouth and the biggest appetite. A man of perfection has an endless appetite for life. He lives in the consciousness, and to him every experience, good or bad, is only a play of the infinite. He must have a big belly to stomach peacefully all the experiences of life, auspicious or inauspicious. A mastermind sits with one foot down. Generally, we move about in the world through the corridors of our experience on our 2 feet, the mind and the intellect. A perfect man of wisdom has integrated them both to such an extent that they become in him as one, an intellect into which the mind has folded and become completely subservient. In the representation of Sri Vinayak, we always find a mouse sitting in the midst of beautiful, fragrant, ready-made food, but not daring to touch anything without his command, his with a capital H. The mouse within each personality, which can eat away a mountain of our merit, is the power of desire. the man of perfection is one who has so perfectly mastered his urge to acquire, possess, and enjoy this self-annihilating power of desire that it is completely held in obedience to the will of the master. He rides upon the mouse, meaning it is a desire to do service to the world, and it becomes his vehicle, that is God's vehicle, to move about and act. The Lord of Obstacles, Sri Vighneshwar, has four arms representing the four inner equipments, the Antahkaran, Man, Buddhi, Chit and Ahankar. In one hand he has the rope and in the other he has an axe. On the spiritual pilgrimage, all obstacles are created by very subjective and objective worlds in the seeker himself. Sri Vighneshwar chops them off with the axe. He cuts off the attachments of his devotees to the world of plurality and thus ends all the consequent sorrow. He holds the attention of the seeker constantly through the higher and pulls us nearer and nearer to the truth, and ultimately ties the seeker down to the highest goal with the rope. With one hand, he blesses all his devotees and protects Abhay from all obstacles on their spiritual path of seeking the Supreme, and with the other hand, he feeds the seeker with modak, representing the reward of the joys of sadhana, the joy of experiencing the reality, or joy itself, which is our very swarup. On the 10th day of the festival comes Visarjan. The symbolic act of Visarjan means let go of something that you love deeply. It teaches us to surrender to faith over intellect. It also teaches us that what we love, we have to learn to leave. So, love unconditionally. विसर्जन यानी जिसकी सृष्टि हुई है, सर्जना हुई है, उसका उल्टा करना, उसका विसर्जन करना, उसका अंत करना, and signifies that just as Ganesh Bhagwan is said to have been born in a certain form on a certain day, the life of his too will come to an end. Srishti Sthiti Lay will continue, and we have to learn to understand the temporariness of the material world. कहते हैं कि 10वें दिन शिव गणेश भगवान retires to his parents' place at Mount Kailash, and of course the cycle of birth and death continues. To break through the cycle, we need inspiration from Lord Ganpati, and that was a beautiful symbolism. Aruna Narlikar also points out the symbolism of the powerful partnership between the two greats, or rather the symbolism of powerful partnership between Bhakt and his Bhagwan, Ved Vyas and Ganesh Ji, in writing the Mahabharata. We all know the story of how Ved Vyas, when he wanted to write the Mahabharata, wanted an equally learned scribe, and who better than Bhagwan Ganesh, and of all the terms that were set between them to accomplish that great task. Historically, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj had popularized this festival in his fight against the Mughals to unite his population, and in modern times, Bal Gangadhar Tilak gave it a public vesture, and it was popularized in Maharashtra and gradually in all other parts of India, and it was used as a weapon of unification against the British Empire. On the 14th of September itself, we had another important festival, and that was Radha Ashtami. भगवान कृष्ण की आह्लादिनी शक्ति राधा रानी वृषभानु राजा की बेटी का जन्म दिवस. Radha Rani has been considered the supreme of the gopis in the Srimad Bhagavat, the gopis that represent spiritual love of the liberated and not the carnal desire of flesh. Swami Dharamdas calls this Ishq Ilahi. Unfortunately today, most festivals have become for us more a fun occasion, just the externalities, good food, only rituals, enjoyment, dressing up, shopping, etc. In fact, they were meant to be the other way round. Each day in Hindu life, therefore, is supposed to be a profound festival of the other, which, while taking off the drudgery of daily living, was meant to turn the individual inwards to his true self and discover his true nature. Somehow, the spirit of the festivals get lost today in the externalities. We hope that with the inspiration of Ganesh Bhagwan and Radharani, we can accomplish the turning inwards as I just mentioned. 14th of September, incidentally, also marks Hindi Divas, a day that the government has set to promote Hindi as the language of the official language of India and to popularize Hindi. The late Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee had once said, Hindi meri maa hai to Sindhi meri mausi. He was addressing a Sindhi gathering. I would put it the other way around for those of us Sindhis who are here and for those watching the program. Sindhi Matribhasha hai. And at this point, and on that note, I would like to call upon Shri Nand Bhatia ji to regale us with his Bhakti Sangeet in Sindhi Matribhasha. Thank you, Nanji. Please come.